should be shoot, the whole shoot, nothing but shoot, so help you guys?
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. Please sit.
Shakita.
Please state your name, ma'am.
My name is Melissa Southern.
And how are you employed?
I am the forensic photographer for the City County Bureau of Identification.
And can you tell us what it means to be the forensic photographer at the CCBI?
It means I get to do a lot of different things. I do a lot of work with the latent examiners, helping them with any enhancements if they need that. I keep all the photographs, track of all the photographs that the agents take on the crime scenes, provide those for discovery or for investigative purposes. I do court displays, all sorts of other things. I help in evidence control, have a lot of different kind of job titles and hats that I wear there.
How long have you been employed as a forensic photographer?
It'll be 12 years in June.
And are all of those with CCBI?
Yes, they are.
You described that you kind of have control of all of the photographs that the agents will take. I think earlier Agent Gold had indicated that she may have taken 800 photographs during the course of a homicide investigation. Is that unusual?
Not terribly. They vary, of course. Some will have more and some will have less, but 800 is not terribly unusual.
When an agent takes photographs at any scene, whether it's a homicide, a burglary, a car break-in, is there a system that manages them or that they're supposed to do with them?
Yes, we have what's called a digital crime scene. That's the name of the system. They upload their photos into the system, and then it keeps them secured and safe. It's backed up on multiple servers that are all secured. And then within that system, you can't just take out a picture. You can't remove a picture. You can't do anything with it without the system logging everything you've done. You can never delete a picture, and you can never change the original. It stays the original once it's in the system. Anything done to it, like if I'd go in and do any enhancements, that's logged and then made a copy of the picture is made in the system. And it's indicated in bright red that that's not the original image.
And so if you're going back, and let me ask it this way, are agents required to upload all of the images that they take at a crime scene?
Yes, they are. They upload everything. If they have one that's not focused well or the flash didn't go off, they have to upload that. Everything goes in there.
And that was going to be sort of my next question. We heard from Agent Foran when she was trying to photograph areas of carpet, what she believed to be shoe wear, and was talking about taking different lighting angles. If it's a terrible shot, does it still get uploaded?
Yes, it does. It still gets into the system.
And you had indicated that they can't go in and take any out without knowing about it, or they just can't do it in general?
They can't take any out in general. They're not capable of it.
And you had talked about if you make an enhancement or do a change, is that one of the things that is often requested of you?
Yes, I do enhancements on a fairly regular basis. Usually they're of latent prints or shoe impressions, one of the two of those things.
And when you call them enhancements, what do you mean by that?
Enhancements, generally, it's a way to help see the image a little bit better. So a lot of times fingerprints and sometimes shoe impressions can be a little difficult to see, so I increase the contrast, which means I make the whites brighter and the darks darker. Try to work in, get those areas that might be too light or too dark, make them more easily seen. A lot of times the images are turned black and white if they're not already black and white anyway. They're color images, but they're turned black and white. And then certain areas are worked on just in general, trying to get more detail visible. A lot of times prints are very pale or faint in an image, and by increasing the contrast and making it black and white, it makes it easier for them to see.
In any of those processes, whether it's lighting, whether it's contrast, whether it's black and white, are you altering the original image in any way, that is photoshopping it or changing it in any way?
I'm not changing the original. Instead, it makes a copy of it. Yes, we do use Photoshop.
Okay.
When we do the enhancements, we are using Photoshop because Photoshop has a history log that is imported into our digital crime scene system, so it's a log of everything that I did to an enhancement. So that keeps kind of, you can see what I've done. So no, you don't change the original because the original is always in the system as it is. But of course, the enhanced image is going to look different. It might be black and white and brighter or darker, or certain areas brighter or darker.
And you said that at no point, if you're changing the contrast or making it brighter or black and white, do you take the original image out of the system?
No, you cannot remove the original image.
And when you do, whether it's one of the methods you described, is there another new photo that's created that you can tell that you've created. I think you said it comes up in red or something like that.
Yeah, what happens in the system is you'll have your original image, which just has a black outline around it, and when there's an enhanced version of that image, it has two numbers. It has the number of the original image and the number, its own unique number, and it has a big red box around it. So this one has been enhanced. And if you go into, it's got a little journal feature, you can go in there and see what was done. So that would be where that Photoshop history log is. So you can see everything that was done if you used Photoshop for it.
And with respect to the images that you, well, with respect to any image that's uploaded into a crime scene digital recorder, is there a unique number that's given to each individual photograph?
Yes, every photograph in the system has a unique identification number. It's unique across cases, across the whole system. No two pictures can have the same number. And then, like I said, an enhancement will have that number, the original image, plus its own unique number.
And has that been since the system originated? That is, it's not it doesn't have a year's time frame and then it overruns itself?
No, it's unique, period. And we've been having the system running since beginning of 2009. And there are no repeated numbers in the whole system.
We talked about, or we've talked during the course of this trial about CCBI agents. There was one working what we've been calling the homicide scene, and one working what was called the burglary scene, and we often neglect, but there was also a car break-in scene. Were you aware of all of those?
Yes.
Okay. And you had said, and some of the confusion, hopefully not to the jury, is that Agent Gold in the upstairs unit would have CCBI item number 1, and Agent Foran downstairs would have CCBI agent number 1 under their respective case numbers. With photographs, is there any duplication? That is 2 ones. Does that make sense?
As far as the item?
Yeah. So if Agent Foran took a set of photographs and Agent Gold took a set of photographs, would at any point those numbers cross-reference, or that each individual photo has its own unique number?
They have their own unique number in digital crime scene, yes.
And with respect to, let's focus on the burglary scene, which we've heard some testimony about, CCBI number 13-3158, were you asked to provide some assistance in that case?
Yes, I was asked to print several shoe impression photographs that were in carpet, I believe on that one. Can you consult my notes?
Yes, please.
Let's see. I had some prints that I was requested to print by Leighton Examiner Manila, and those were a variety of different prints, some on a porch railing, some were just for reference, so she could kind of see the area that it was in. And I was also requested by Tracy Davis, who's another one of our Leighton examiners, to do some prints of shoe impressions in carpet, and I also enhanced some of those as well.
And do you recall being requested at some point to look at a vent that had been collected?
Yeah, I have the vent I have under the homicide,
okay,
yes.
Well, let's,
so.
I'm going to approach, if I may, with State's Exhibit 337.
Yes.
Make sure that's right. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 337, which is a disc that is marked 337. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is State's Exhibit 337?
It is a disc that contains images from this is from the burglary scene. We have it marked as additional discovery, and this is my handwriting.
And so is when you are asked, let's stick with the burglary scene, from either Tracy Lipscotch Davis or Tracy Gold, which is also
confusing.
When you were asked to look at some of the footwear impressions, or at least suspected footwear impressions, what were you asked to do with certain items in this case?
With some of the photographs in this case, what I was asked to do is to take those shoe impression photographs and scale them, which means they're printed life-size, so what they were actually originally sized, which we do for all comparison work, and also to enhance those, so to try to raise up that contrast to see the impression a little bit better. depending on each one. Each one's done a little differently. It's on an individual basis. And then to print those for Tracy Davis, Lipscotch Davis, to actually do her comparison.
Earlier, it was introduced into evidence a disc containing approximately 148 photographs that Agent Ferran had taken of various footwear impressions, or what she believed to be footwear impressions, within the downstairs burglary unit. Were you asked to look at those items, and specifically, did you know which items that Agent, I'm gonna say Gold and Davis to make sure it's
okay.
clear. Were you made aware of which items Tracy Davis, the footwear examiner, was requesting of, Carla Foran's footwear prints?
So which ones she was actually asking me to print?
Yes. I mean, so does she tell you, I want you to do them for all of them, or were there specific ones, or how do you go about selecting the ones that you want to bring to scale? As you said, that is, so it's almost life-size.
Yeah, so it's life-size, yes.
Life-size original. Did you go through and do that, or was that something that the footwear examiner asked you for specific requests? Does that question make sense?
That makes sense, yeah. Yes, the footwear examiner sent me an email with the numbers of the images in digital crime scene that she wanted me to print and to enhance.
And we talked about the program that you have where all the photographs are stored. Is that something that the footwear examiner can access the photographs that were taken at the original scene?
Yes, she has access, all the late examiners do, so they can view the images.
And so she can look at those, for example, 148 photos, and specifically give you a number of an image that she would like for you to either enlarge or enhance.
Yes, that is correct.
And is that what this disc contains? That is the images that she had requested that you do certain specific items with?
Yes, the reason this one is labeled as additional discovery is because it contains the original image plus the enhanced version of the image.
And you said this has your handwriting. Is this a disc that you yourself created after you had done those?
Yes, it is. Oh yeah, that's got my initials on it. Yeah, I created that.
And so on the disc you would have the original crime scene photograph right next to the one that's enhanced.
They're usually in numerical order on the disc, but yes, they're all there on the disc, yeah.
And then once you were asked by the footwear examiner, Tracy Davis, to do those, what do you do with the actual, do you print them out, do you burn them to a CD, what do you do to get them to her?
I generally print them out, so again, they're printed 1-to-1, which is life-size, and then sealed in envelopes with the shoe impressions are given item numbers, sealed in an envelope and then given to the shoe impression examiner, so in this case, to Tracy Davis.
And then for us, and in terms of discovery, do you make a copy of the images that you then have transferred that have been printed out to Tracy Davis?
I give a copy of the disc.
That's what I meant.
Yes, I do. Yes, I give a disc.
And all of the images that were on the disc were ones that you would print out and give to her?
That is correct.
At this time, the state would move to introduce State's Exhibit 337 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, sir.
All right, 337 is allowed.
And you said that's what you were asked to do in the burglary case, and then you were asked to look at some, or to do some, well, what were you asked to do about the dryer photographs, if anything?
The dryer vent, I'm going to consult my notes to be sure I get it all straight. The dryer vent was similar to the other ones that I was requested to take certain images that Tracy Davis emailed to me, again, specific numbers from Digital Crime Scene, and to both print those to scale and to enhance them and give them to her. So I did, there was several images that I did on that one. And then one that I did a little bit more, she came back and asked for a further enhancement of one in particular.
And again, this was at the, listed in the homicide case
Yes.
rather than the burglary.
Yes, this is on the homicide case.
If I may approach.
Yes.
Mark these two photographs, 338 and 339. I'm going to show you first State's Exhibit 233, a photograph that was introduced into evidence by Agent Galloway. And do you recognize this photograph?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to show you two additional photographs now that have not been previously identified or introduced into evidence, State's Exhibit 338 and 339, and ask if you recognize those two.
Yes, I recognize both of them.
And what are State's Exhibits, starting with 338?
338 is the first enhancement done on one of the shoe impressions on the dryer vent.
And then what is State's Exhibit 339?
That's an additional enhancement that Tracy Davis asked me to do for that same image.
And so specifically, can you describe the process that you used for State's Exhibit 338 so that the jury can see kind of what we've been talking about?
Okay. For this exhibit, what I did was I took the original photo, which has already been entered into evidence. I took that one, put it into Photoshop. I used a filter, a black and white filter, in which you can actually filter different color bands to make the contrast stand out better. And then I used another filter on it to pump the contrast up a little bit more in that particular case.
And again, you started with the original image that's here in 233, and then we're changing the filtering.
Yes.
Okay. And then what was the difference with State's Exhibit 339?
339, what I did was called a tonal reversal. So I took the enhancement that I already did. Sorry. A tonal reversal. Tonal. So I took what I had already done with the enhancements and then did a tonal reversal, which means the black became white and the white became black. So it's like making a negative for people that still know what negatives were. But it's essentially making it opposite colors. So sometimes that makes details easier to see for the latent examiners.
And you had described a moment ago that you had done an initial set for Tracy Davis, the footwear examiner, and then she had come back. Is this what she had come back and asked you to do?
Yes, she came back and requested the tonal reversal.
Here, this time the state would move to introduce, and again, earlier testimony was that Mike Galloway had taken this photograph and tried to make it to scale. Do you keep the scale when you're doing, I mean, you're taking the exact photograph, is the scale still within it?
Oh, yes, yes.
And again, you are the one who either enhanced it with the black or did the tonal reversal here, right?
Yes, I did both of the enhancements.
And in both of these cases, the scale is still showing, keeping it somewhat to scale.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, these photographs themselves are not to scale, but yes, yeah, they're printed to scale when I print the versions, so yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would move to introduce State's Exhibit 338 and 339 for substantive purposes.
Any objection? They are allowed.
And Your Honor, I would ask permission to publish these to the jurors together as a unit.
That'll be fine if you'll hand those to the bailiff.
Your Honor,
Yes, hold on.
The substantive purpose would be to explain the process between the two. But would be my understanding of that. I don't know whether that's something.
Well, I think they're not merely for illustrative. I think that's all that needs to be said at this point.
after, now that we transitioned to the homicide case and the vent photographs, were you asked to provide any additional assistance in either the burglary or the homicide case?
I don't believe so, no.
And again, once you hand off the items to the footwear examiner, was it your understanding that she was doing some sort of was asked to do some sort of comparison about footwear?
Yes, that was my understanding.
And if she needed additional information, would you have assisted her in that regard?
Yes, I would have.
I don't have any further questions.
Cross-examination, Ms. D?
So you said that you send the photos back to Miss Davis, life-sized?
Yes, I print the photos out life-size and give them to the examiner.
And so in that way, the photos that we're looking at today are slightly different than the ones you send to her?
Yes, these are just printed, full size, but on 8x10 paper versus the large size that would have, or the correct size that would have been life-size.
And you use the scale that's included in the photographs to make sure that you're sending the life-size pictures to her at the correct size.
That is correct. The scale is in the photograph itself, and that's how I create them one-to-one.
And you told us that Photoshop keeps a careful log of everything that's done to the photo.
Yes, it's a combination. With digital crime scene, when we send an image to Photoshop to work on, it keeps what's called a history log. We have it set to keep a detailed history log. When I'm done in Photoshop, I export it back to digital crime scene, and it saves it into digital crime scene.
So that's the other question I had. So there are actually two software programs. There's Digital Crime Scene, and that's a software program that your office maintains.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And so the red box and things of that nature, those are components of the Digital Crime Scene, software, but that software talks to and works with Photoshop.
Yes, that's correct. We have a link between the two.
And one way of looking at the way just the evidence that we have just talked about through you is there's a disc that has many enhancements of a number of photographs from the carpet impressions and maybe one on the floor, I can't remember, but mostly carpet impressions from the downstairs apartment, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And then as far as the upstairs investigation goes, the only photograph that you were asked to do any work with was the photograph from the dryer vent.
There was a couple of photographs from the dryer vent, but there was one that was preferred by the examiner. So that's the one that I worked with.
But there weren't any photographs of carpet impressions from the upstairs that you were asked to work with?
No, there wasn't.
I don't have any other questions.
Anything further, Mr. Kidd?
Yes, sir.
All right, ma'am, you may step down.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and take a mid-morning recess until 25 minutes past 11. Please recall all the rules and instructions. Members of the jury, don't talk among yourselves or with anyone else about the case. Don't form or express opinions about the outcome. No media or independent investigation in these matters. And please, no conversations with parties, witnesses, or lawyers. Leave your notepads in your chairs. Gather at 25 minutes past in the deliberation room. If everyone else would please remain seated.